Hello and welcome to Magic Concepts, a series where we explore Magic the Gathering concepts starting from zero base knowledge in the game and going all the way through Pro Tour level strategies. In part 3 of this series, we will be covering the basics of card advantage, what that is and why you need it, not only during gameplay but also while building your deck before you even get to the event. So there are many resources in Magic, and leveraging each resource properly can open up an avenue to victory. Last time in part 2 of this series, we covered mana as the primary resource in Magic, and you can see that video with the link at the top of your screen. However, mana is not the only resource in Magic. Other resources can be used, such as creatures to attack your opponent's life total. Your life total itself can be used as a resource to cast different spells or activate different abilities. Additionally, different counters can be placed on permanents, such as oil counters in this new Phyrexia expansion, can be used to do a multitude of different effects. Also, spells in general, instant sorceries, can change the outcome of battle. But you can't cast a spell that's not in your hand, which really shows why cards themselves are a very important resource. So when you're constructing a Magic deck, you must have a minimum of 60 cards, and you can have at most 4 copies of any single named card, other than basic lands. You can have as many of those as you need. And when you can no longer draw any cards, you've drawn out your entire deck, you lose the game. So technically there is no upper limit on how many cards you can have in your deck, but barring any niche strategies, you really should try to limit your deck to a maximum of 60 cards as well. So why would you want to do that? Well, the simple answer is math. In a game of Magic, the chances of pulling any single card that you need to win the game is going to be 1 card out of 60, or about 1.7%. If you run the maximum of 4 copies of that card, your chances increase to 6.7%. However, the more cards you add to your deck, the lower those odds go. So, for example, if you're running a 100-card deck, your chances of drawing one of those 4 cards is now 4%. So we see that you have better chances of drawing the cards that you need to win if you have as small a deck as possible, and the smallest deck you can have in constructed play is generally 60 cards. So when you're looking to upgrade your deck, you're going to want to make sure you keep it as small as possible to that 60 card minimum maximum. So you're going to want to replace cards on a 1-for-1 basis. If the card you want to add in isn't better than something that you already have in there, then why would you want to use it? Just go ahead and keep that card out. If your new card is better than something else in there, then why would you want to use the worst card? Put the better card in, take the worst card out. It's all about managing your resources so that you can pull the card you need or have the best chances to pull the card you need when you need it. But to capitalize on this card resource and to help ensure that you can pull the cards you need and have them available when you need them, we need to understand what card advantage is. And very quickly defined, card advantage is any process by which a player obtains effectively more cards than their opponent. So what's the simplest ways of getting a card advantage? Well, simply draw extra cards. If you put cards in your deck that let you draw more cards than your opponent, then you can help make sure that your hand is fully stacked and you can have the answers that you need when you need them. Now, card advantage can also be relative to your opponent. So another way to gain a card advantage, aside from simply drawing more cards, is to make your opponent discard cards from their hand. And that will give you more cards and more options by comparison. But card advantage isn't just limited to the number of cards in your hand, but also any cards that are in play. In fact, any favorable card interaction can give you an advantage. Planeswalkers are a great example of card advantage. This one here, Teferi Temporal Pilgrim, you could use any 3 of his abilities to gain a card advantage. You can simply draw a card, you can create a creature to put onto the battlefield, which is basically just an extra card on the board for you. And his ultimate ability, -12, can wipe your opponent's board completely, leaving all of your cards on the table. But even smaller interactions, like having one of your big creatures blocked by 2 or more of your opponent's smaller creatures, can still be advantageous, since they lost more cards off of the board in the exchange than you did. Another example of card advantage is what can be called a virtual card advantage. Now, this doesn't mean that you have physically more cards, simply that you have more effective cards. So if we look at, there's something called a dead card in Magic. A dead card isn't a creature that has died. It is a card that has no impact on the game as it stands. So some examples of this are drawing your 10th land when you're already flooded out, or drawing your second legendary permanent that you can't cast because that means you'll have to sacrifice your first one. If you know what your opponent's strategy is, then it's possible to play around that and blank your opponent's cards, or cause them to become dead. For example, if you cast a large creature to block your opponent's smaller creatures, you're effectively blanking their ability to attack. While the creature itself might not be dead, their ability to affect the game certainly can be. Some decks will employ this strategy of blanking cards while sideboarding, which is a concept we'll cover in a later video. But they will play creatures in the first game of the match, and then they will take out the creatures for the second game for a more spell-heavy game. And this will blank any creature removal that the opponent brings in. So since we know what a dead card is and how it gives you a virtual disadvantage, we can then use that knowledge to gain a virtual card advantage by building ways into your deck to get rid of these dead cards. So even though it's not changing the number of cards in your hand or in play, it is changing the effectiveness of those cards. And so effects like Hypnotic Grifter's Connive ability that lets you draw extra cards, but then throw away any dead cards. These are often referred to as looting effects. And Connive is only one of many keyword effects that let you manipulate the cards that you draw. Others you can see often in Magic include Scry and Surveil, which let you look at the top card of your deck and decide whether or not to keep it there. Putting an emphasis in your deck on high impact cards is another way to earn virtual card advantage and help close out the game. As we've said, casting a large creature like our Reservoir Kraken here can blank smaller opposing creatures because those creatures can no longer attack into you, or you'll just kill them with your larger blocker. Not only will it blank the opponent's smaller creatures by preventing them from attacking, but it can often force your opponent to use 2 or more cards to deal with these high-impact threats. And if they can't deal with it fairly quickly, you can use these high-impact cards to very quickly win the game. So I know this is a pretty heavy concept, and it can be a bit hard to wrap your head around in one sitting, but that's the beauty of a video like this. You can go back and watch it again. But keeping the idea of card advantage in mind while playing your games can help make advantageous plays and interactions that can help swing the match in your favor. So just once again, a quick recap to put it very simply. Card advantage is any way that a player can effectively obtain more cards than their opponent, either in their hand or on the battlefield, or even better quality of cards. Like we said in the video, this can come either by drawing extra cards, by forcing an opponent to discard cards, or by blanking opponent's cards by simply not playing into them, forcing bad blocks in combat, making them give up 2 or more cards to answer one of your own. And also by building ways into your deck to filter out those dead cards with looting effects, scry effects, and those are all different ways that you can gain card advantage. And you don't have to use them all in every deck, but keeping it in mind and building a deck with at least some of these concepts can certainly help give you an edge over your opponent. So let's take a look at some actual game footage, and see how many of these concepts we can see used in practice and how they affect the outcome of the game. Alright, so it looks like we've got a bunch of blue spells, a bunch of blue lands. Yeah, we're good to go. Alright, we'll play our land for the turn, nothing much to do. Opponent plays their land and casts a Nimble Disruptor, which taps a permanent. Well, the only thing they've got is my land, so yeah, that doesn't do anything. Okay, Thornwood Falls will gain us a life. We'll just go with the blue here. That'll let me cast Prologue to Pheresis. But since that's an instant, I can cast it on my opponent's turn. Plus, leaving the mana open will let me bluff potentially a counter spell or a combat trick or something, which might make my opponent think twice about attacking. But yeah, they're going to go ahead and swing on it anyway to see what I've got. So we'll cast Prologue to Pheresis to draw me a card. So there is one additional card that I've drawn over my opponent, giving me that slight advantage. We'll go ahead and gain our life from Thornwood Falls. I don't have anything else to do. So we'll go ahead and pass the turn back to the opponent. Looks like they're on black. Okay, blue-black. That's pretty cool. They're just going to come in for 1 of damage. Oh, ninjutsu. Okay, so that is a mechanic that lets them replace their unblocked creature with a ninja from their hand. So if they attack, I don't block, they can ninjutsu out a creature, such as the Biting Palm Ninja. And this one here, whenever it hits an opponent, they can lose the menace ability off of this card to look at my hand and pull something out. So since they're going to make me discard a card anyway, I'll go ahead and cast Prologue to Pheresis. It'll draw me an extra card. And now they're going to make me discard a card. Probably Kraken would be the best. Oh, nope. They're getting rid of my draw spell. Alright. So we'll just draw another one. That's pretty cool. See, I can play either color here. Doesn't really matter. I've got enough blue to cast whatever I need. I've got 4 mana, so let's get to Kraken. So he's got black. He could do removal, but because of Ward 2, he would need to use 2 extra mana to do it. Looks like he's just going to tap it down with his Disruptor. Pay the 2 extra mana, sure. I mean, 3 mana for a 1/1 flyer. He's kind of on the losing end of that deal. So the ninja hits me again, but since he no longer has that menace counter, he doesn't get to throw away another one of my cards. So we'll just go back in, use our land for the turn, and drop Defiler of Dreams. Now, if I cast another blue permanent, Defiler can draw me an extra card, but we're going to go ahead and hold off on that for now. He does tap the Kraken down combat, so that gives me an extra fish token, which is basically another creature on my board that I didn't have to pay for. So I am all about getting a free creature. So he casts Moonsnare Specialist, which does return a creature to my hand. He's picking Defiler, which is the correct play. So I no longer have a blocker. He's going to go ahead and attack on in. Surprised he didn't ninjutsu anything. Oh, he's out of mana, that's why. So he knows I've got that land. We'll go ahead and put it out into play. I've got 6 mana now, so I can actually do Defiler plus Hypnotic Grifter, because that's 6 mana total. Oh yeah, Defiler's other ability lets me use life instead of blue mana, so I can actually cast Thrumming Bird by paying 2 life. And because Thrumming Bird's a blue permanent, I did just draw a card off of Defiler of Dreams. So that is yet an extra card. So Kraken, they can tap it down. If they do, it gives me another fish. Alright, so they keep tapping it down and giving me free cards. I am all about that. Network Disruptor will tap. Yep, Defiler. That's the right choice. So now he can attack in with the Disruptor. Since he has 2 Disruptors, if I attack in with a Thrumming Bird, he's just going to block it anyway and kill it. So I might as well go ahead and make the block here. Unfortunately, that means I just lost 2 life to save myself 1 point of damage, which doesn't really feel very good. But it was gonna die anyway, and might as well save me from a point of damage before it goes. Oh, Kaido, that is not good for me. So that lets him draw a card and discard a card. That's that virtual advantage that we were talking about before, where he is able to help filter out his hand. So we're going to go ahead and cast Phyrexian Espionage, which draws me 2 cards. So that's 2 more cards out of my deck. We'll cast Fairy Vandal, and Defiler of Dreams will draw me a 3rd card. So that's 4 cards I've drawn this turn, before I've even played my land. So yeah, we'll go ahead and do that. And why not? We'll drop Hypnotic Grifter, draw myself a 5th card for the turn. So as you see, Defiler is an amazing source of card advantage. It's drawn me, 4 extra cards this turn? And then they tap the Kraken down to prevent him from attacking, which gives me another free card on the board. So yeah, we'll go ahead and attack. I can't attack Kaido because he's phased out, but I can attack the opponent. So we'll just go ahead and start doing some damage here since I can. Ooh, I have no idea what that card does. That was a lot of words. Yeah. So he's attacking in. Let's see, what's this card do? Whenever one or more non-creature permanents are returned to hand, so whenever they use ninjutsu ability, they get to draw a card. Okay, so that means that I pretty much just have to block his creatures so that he can't use the ninjutsu abilities. That's okay, we can do that. So we'll go ahead and take... yeah, we'll block the flyer there. That'll just kill him. We'll go ahead and double block with the fish tokens that he gave me, and we'll chump the 3rd one. So everything's blocked. He can't get any value off of his ninjutsu triggers. And so yeah, we just used the 3 free creatures that I didn't even pay for to block his entire board. I mean, that seems like some pretty good card advantage to me, right? So he makes a blue ninja that can't be blocked, which unfortunately means they're going to be able to ninjutsu something in next turn. Oh, they did have a ninjutsu character to put in, so yeah, it's a good thing I made those blocks. Alright, so let's make sure that I keep mana open for that Infectious Bite, which means I've got some mana to use. Let's go ahead and go to combat. Are they going to tap the Kraken down? Yes, they do. They give me another free creature. Alright, I will take that advantage. Let's see, the Fairy Vandal, I can go ahead and swing in at Kaito. And then we'll go ahead and attack him to punch 4 damage into his face. We'll go ahead and declare our attackers. And then after the attackers are declared, I can cast Prologue to Pheresis to draw a card, which pumps the Fairy Vandal, which actually will be lethal on Kaido. And then we'll do some more damage to my opponent. And so we are getting a bunch of value here. We've already got, 12 free cards out of this game so far. So let's see, I've got 6 mana to work with still. I want to keep 2 open. So we'll cast the Tainted Observer, which draws a card off of Defiler of Dreams. Let's see, I've got the Hypnotic Grifter is also blue. So we'll go ahead and cast him to get another card off Defiler of Dreams. Proliferate. Nah, I don't really need to proliferate. I mean, it would be good. It would give him an extra poison counter. It would grow the Fairy Vandal, but I don't need to. I need to keep the extra mana open for Infectious Bite. Opponent's drawing a card. They're getting some card advantage of their own. So we'll pass on to attackers here. They are going to swing with everything, yeah. So first thing we're going to do is use Infectious Bite to kill the guy so they don't get any of their ninjutsu triggers. Because I can't block the token. So that means that they are going to be able to ninjutsu something. Let's see. So that one's just 3 damage, so I don't have to worry about him. That one I can't block, yeah. So we'll go ahead and double block the 3-2 to kill him. We'll go ahead and just chump block the other one. Unfortunately, my Grifter will die, but I don't really have any way around that. And yep, he is ninjutsuing in something. Let's see, what's he do? I think he kills something. Yep, destroy target creature or planeswalker. So he's gonna kill the Defiler. Okay, yep, that is a very good choice because that has drawn me a ton of cards. He's going to draw a card off of his land by sacrificing it, so there's some more card advantage for him. But he can't really... I've just drawn too many cards this turn for him to come back into the game. We'll go ahead and drop Thummingbird. Let's see... Yep, we can proliferate off Tainted Observer, which will grow the fairy and give him another poison counter. We've got Phyrexian Espionage. We can cast to draw 2 cards. Oh, an opponent scoops it up. So yeah, we could cast the Espionage to draw 2 cards to give us a total card advantage counter of 16 so far. Fairy Vandal would grow up to 4 power, 5/6 off for the Tainted Observer, 6 more for the Kraken is 12 damage. Plus, I mean, I could just swing back in next turn for lethal, so yeah, I mean, the Kraken gave me a lot of free cards off of their tokens. The Defiler of Dreams drew me so many cards this game. So yeah, you can really see how those card advantage can stack up and just really bury your opponent. So this is the deck we were using in that video, using Tainted Observer to proliferate whenever a creature comes into play, Azuri Stalker of Spheres whenever you proliferate, draw a card, and Teferi, Defiler to draw cards, Reservoir Kraken for some virtual card advantage getting tokens, along with straight up draw spells, and a basic poison package that also draws to continue the game plan and give us a win con. Feel free to try this deck out. It's only $16 in paper, and honestly, half of that is Teferi Temporal Pilgrim. That's an $8 card by itself. So you could swap him out for one of the other cards if you don't have that much money, or if you've got more money, you could swap out some of his other cards and put more of him in. Whatever you want to do. But still, this is the deck worked fairly well. Even when I was playtesting it, we got a pretty good record. You can see that video on my Patreon. Those videos are going to be Patreon exclusive to see kind of the behind the scenes, how the deck works. So check that out in the description below. Sign up to my Patreon. That will give you access to my Discord, which will give you the chance to help create some of these decks that you see on screen. And also, whenever I do drafts, that will let you get into some of my drafts. We can draft together, we can play together, we can have all kinds of fun. So in the comments down below, let me know what you would do with this deck. What cards would you take out? What cards would you add in? How would you take this shell and make it your own? I'm really interested to hear your take on this deck and what you would do with it. While you're down there, put a like on this video to let me know that you enjoyed the content and I can make more of it. Subscribe to the channel and hit notifications so that you can be notified when more of this series comes out, because there is a lot more of this series still to do. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, hit up my Patreon to support the channel for more Magic content, and I will see you in the next video.